What's the most brutal way a family weekend ever started? I kicked my wife out the day I found out she cheated on me. We got divorced, but when she asked for full custody of the kids, I said yes. Not because she deserved them, but because I knew I couldn't give them what they needed with how much I worked. But I promised myself I'd change that. A few months later, I met Jenna. She was smoking hot, but that wasn't what got me. She had this warm and funny energy, and somehow she understood exactly what I was going through. She'd just left an abusive relationship, and I'd just left a broken one, so we clicked right away. A few weeks into seeing her, my ex-wife called and asked if I could keep the kids for the weekend because she was going on a trip. I didn't ask questions, I just said yes because I missed them and I didn't want to know anything about her new life. My daughter's always been closer to me, but my son was a total mama's boy, so I expected tension when they came over. But weirdly, it was the opposite. My son connected with Jenna instantly. He followed her around like a puppy and asked her to help with his Lego castle and even laughed at every joke she made. My daughter, though, stayed quiet until she pulled me aside and said something I'll never forget.
She looks like one of those OnlyFans girls.
I got mad and told her that her mom was the real OnlyFans model and I shouldn't have said it because I didn't mean to bring them into this, but I was mad and it just came out. She stared at me silently, then turned and walked to her room, and 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was my ex-wife screaming why I told her that and said it was our secret, but I told her I never promised anything, and she told me she thought it was clear. But nothing was ever clear between us, and that was always the problem. That night, I knocked on my daughter's door and asked to talk. She sat on her bed and told me everything, and said her mom turned her against me and told her I cheated first and caught me messaging other women, and said we mutually agreed to split. And her new boyfriend was more of a dad than I ever was because he spent more time with them. And maybe that was true since he didn't work, so of course he was around more. She told me her mom and her aunt called Jenna an OnlyFans model, and she didn't even know what that meant, but she just assumed they were telling the truth. The next few days were quiet, but something changed. The kids started opening up to Jenna more, and she didn't push or try too hard. She just helped with homework and watched their shows and let my son paint her nails. When my ex came back from her trip, she asked me to keep the kids for a few more days, and I said fine, because I didn't want them to go either. But then something happened. Jenna collapsed in the hallway and the kids called me screaming, so I called 911 and raced home. At the hospital, I found them huddled next to her bed. She was okay, but missed her insulin shot, and I didn't even know she was diabetic. She apologized over and over, but before I could say anything, my son told her it was okay, as long as she was still here. We took her home that night, but that peace didn't last. My ex showed up at the door to take the kids, but they didn't want to go. My daughter clung to Jenna's arm and started crying, and for the first time in years, we felt like a real family again. I told my ex they could stay one more night and I'd bring them tomorrow myself, but she wasn't having it and screamed at the kids and told them they'd rather stay with this hoe than their own mother, and that was it. I told her to leave and she said fine. The next morning, she sent their stuff and never came back. We lived together, me, Jenna, and the kids, and I never thought I'd see my daughter trust someone again, but now she holds Jenna's hand when she walks to the car. Last week, I took them out for pizza, and on the way home, they asked if I was ever going to marry Jenna, and I laughed. Then looked in the rearview mirror and asked if they'd be okay with that. They both nodded, and my daughter told me we already call her mom anyway. So yeah, now I'm planning the proposal.